would you say that this is something that helps? How much useful are they in terms of economies that are involved? And I would like to say that, as President Emiliano was saying, the business issue comes after the many friendship relations and deep cultural bonds. In Verona, there is the Arena Foundation, which is well known worldwide. There is an artistic collaboration with the city of Kazan, because Russia is a land of deep culture. And on the cultural artistic theme, we know that there is a deep collaboration, which has led to having artists that come from Russia, that belong to Russia. And we know that from the artistic musical point of view, Russia has a great tradition. So this is what benefited the city of Verona, thanks to this relationship that was created with Kazan and Russia. So if there can be some intercultural exchange of high top level with realities just like Russia, this brings in another tradition, cultural tradition. Now, a reality like the one of Kazan, a city that was introducing itself like a promo, which looks like a sort of a self-candidacy for some nomination as a city that has been cleaned up, made efficient, functional. Well, is this a stimulus and a model at the same time? And in positive terms, an issue? We are more and more considering things as the observers of a world which we thought was fascinating, cultivated, rich of traditions, and that today, thanks to this dynamic approach on the opposite side of the borders, which is a country almost unknown, which proved to be a leader in the sector of many areas, starting from services. And today, this is a question also for Mayor Biano and Emiliano. Are we not running the risk of putting at stake values such as the ones of art, by and large, whilst our Euro-Asian friends, as we've heard this morning from China and yesterday again from different realities of Eurasia, do have a spirit, do have a tradition and a culture, but also the power, the strength of redesigning themselves and regenerating themselves and requalifying themselves with an incredible, stunning ability.
No, I believe that the creativity and the willingness are on both sides. Indeed, there are major entrepreneurs and major companies on both sides. What is probably lacking in Italy, what makes Italy non-competitive, there are certainly large-sized companies also when it comes to making highways and airports that contributed their know-how to Russia and elsewhere, because we do boast of such an important tradition. What our weak point probably is the slow decision-making process. If you get to know Kazan in Moscow, you can very well understand that the growth was extraordinary, and the development also in terms of quality of life, because the decision-making process is much more efficient, lean, so much so that decisions are made and things are made. But in Italy, in order to make a decision and to implement that decision, it takes forever. So basically, the time to make the decision is much longer than the time the same thing requires for being implemented. And in Russia, then, if a company is granted a tender, if the time limits are not complied with, the company then has to pay for that. Well, in Italy, the problem is to start doing work, not to complete the work. President Emiliano has also been a mayor in a city that really transformed itself. Indeed, Bari is one of the cities in the region of Puglia that attach no importance to the downtown area, and it carried out an important restyling, very much like Kazan. So what is the positive thing that you can find about Italy? Well, I believe that in the past decade, Bari, probably thanks to the inspiration coming from the friendship with our Russian friend, is that we developed the 3 light train, developing the new or restoring the new theater Petrocelli, enhancing the outskirts of the city so as to have better suburbs and to have a consistent town planning, which is again consistent also with the ambitions of the city. We have established important trade relations thanks to our traditional vocation. We have a twinning with a city that I cannot even pronounce, the city of the astronauts, Svetli Grodny, I believe this is how it is called. And this is because in Apulia, there's a very innovative district in the aerospace industry, and we hope to establish a technology cooperation based on the 4 airports. And Apulia is smaller than Russia, but we enjoy 4 airports. One of such airports is indeed devoted to the industry of drones, to not just for military use, but also for civil use. Indeed, we develop small satellites, the smallest, I believe, that get built in Italy at a lower cost that are very useful to companies. And then we manufacture also airplanes in Apulia, the 2-seaters that are most competitive and can be used also in large countries such as the Russian Federation. So these are 2-seaters that are designed totally in my region, Apulia. Verona is trying to improve the waste collection in Tirana, and we are redesigning the aqueduct, because the aqueduct in Apulia is one of the most modern in Europe in the water management, and there's a dream to have aqueduct across the Adriatic, which is certainly a dream that I share with the president of Albania, and I'll travel to Tirana very soon. We are trying to have Montenegro in Europe. We're working to that end. We want to have both Montenegro and Albania. Montenegro has a trade agreement with the Russian Federation, of course, that are all important for the whole of Europe. Indeed, there are a lot of red tape that could be done away with if Montenegro was part of Europe. We are also twinned, not because of trade relations, with the Sergei Posavta, the holy city, the city where all priests are trained, all priests of the Orthodox religion. The twinning between the city of San Nicholas and Sergei Posavta is something which is very important. I brought my own children to that city. We've been hosted, and I feel really moved if I think about it. We've been welcomed with bread and salt, and obviously seeing this with your own eyes is something completely different. Rather than talking about pie charts or facts and figures. There's a strong wish for Europe on the part of the Russian Federation, because the Russian Federation is indeed a European country, and I believe that this strong desire for Europe is something that cannot be considered as if the war was there. There's a war in our mind. There's a war that we have to do away with, because Europe is strongly impacted by the Russian culture. Professionally, I am a judge, and if I hadn't read Dostoevsky, I wouldn't understand the difference between good and good and evil, and how thin is the distinction between good and evil. And I believe that Apulia has stricken so many good results because we are extremely sensitive. I hope people cannot just tell the stories of tourism and industry, but people can also talk once again about a peace which is based on justice and fair opportunities for all. And I've been mayor of the city of Bari. I'm now the president of region of Apulia, and we can meet with people in Kazan. And we can also join efforts with the mayor of Verona. We're here to do business, not just to sit at the conference. We're not those that just hold conference, write books, and forget about it. I, for myself, in Apulia and Verona in Italy, we want to do things. We want to bring about change. But to change, we not only do we have to change the rules, we have to change the minds of Italian citizens, because Italian citizens have to understand that changing the constitution is not enough to be competitive again. President Emiliano has been quite clear in his statement. Now it is the Q&A session, but before throwing the floor open, I'd like to give the floor back to the mayor of Catania, Mr. Bianco. Catania and the region, Sicily, boast important successes in the Etna Valley. How do you think they can compete with Kaliningrad? They're certainly going to exploit that area thanks to the climate change. Well, in Catania this morning, the temperature was 27 degrees. Kaliningrad can certainly improve, certainly can boast a wonderful thing, but probably they cannot boast a temperature of 27 degrees in October, at the end of October. In December, we hold a championship, a swimming championship involving 800 people, including one category of people above 80 years. So the over 80 years are take part into this competition, swimming competition, in the month of December. So this is something that I believe that Sicily can boast. Now, I want to say that I'm a mayor of a city that can boast a long-standing tradition. Catania can boast as many as 2,800 years of history. Catania was established by Greeks coming from the Chalcidic Peninsula, and obviously I'm very proud of the past history of my city, and I don't think I can compete with what I've seen with my own eyes. You know, in my previous life, before I was a mayor, I was a CEO of an engineering company that in the in the mid-80s, worked in Russia and in China. That was the first Italian company that in 1984, 1985, developed a turnkey plant in Beijing and in Shanghai. And as a mayor of Catania, I went back after 30 years to Gudong. That used to be a rural area that I had visited. We basically taught the Chinese how they can preserve and process pork meat. So I went to Gudong, and the mayor told me that during that lag of time, the GDP of this area, with millions of inhabitants, grew by 10,000%. Have I made myself clear? 10,000%. Obviously, they were the starting point was pretty low. But anyway, they grew in 30 years by 10,000%. Well, this growth rate obviously is unparalleled. It's something that cannot be met. But in Catania now, I'm working very hard to develop an underground. We want to redo the sewage system, strengthen and enhance our airport, which is the most important in the southern part of Italy. We want to also improve and enhance the port, tackling all the emergencies, because another ship came with hundreds of migrants with dead bodies and corpses that we have to bury. And there's something I wish to highlight here. Whenever we bury the migrants in our city, we usually hold a religious ceremony, and it is the Archbishop that celebrate together with the Imam in Sicily and the Orthodox priest I myself have given one of our old churches to the Orthodox community. To try and feel citizens of the world and to respect every other's people mindset. Anyway, Mayor Tosi was very right, and and the region Emiliano was also very right in that we have a monster that we have to fight against, i.e. the bureaucracy. If the president of the regions, if the directly elected mayors were given independent rule or autonomy, our country wouldn't be in the situation it is today. It would be indeed able to grow much faster. Q&A session now. Good afternoon. Actually, I have two statements to make rather than raise a question. I represent the Kaluga region. I'm the vice governor of the Potemkin region. For the past 2 days, we've been talking about the Silk Road project. I would like to say that the Kaluga region, together with the Irpin province, has inaugurated one of the corridors that is part of the Silk Road project, with the trains leaving from the Chinese port and getting to Kaluga in 9-10 days. We're now negotiating with the port of Rotterdam, Amsterdam, Riga, and Helsinki, and we hope to include also Italian ports so that goods and commodities can travel much faster if compared to today's rate. And I would like to invite you all to be members of the party to be project. Now we're talking also about inter-regional connections, and I would like to say that in Kaluga something very famous was born, Kostakolski, that paved the way to the space, to the outer space. We worked for 2 years together with Casarussi in Verona, and together with the mayor of Verona and the mayor of Kaluga. And we're now about to open a statue dedicated to Gagarin. I would like to thank most warmly the mayor of Verona, and I'd like to invite all the delegates to participate in this ceremony. This is probably going to be a very little something, but it's very meaningful. It is one step forward towards the diplomacy of people that has been referred to very often during the past 2 days. More questions?
Have a question. This seems to be the panel for the pilgrims, because one of my sons is called Nicholas, so of course we've been to Bari to see the tomb of St. Nicholas, but I was advisor for 25 years to the Pope St. John Paul II, and he sent me with a delegation of the Vatican with the icon of Kazan. And because I know some, incidentally, in Bari, there were far more Russians than Italians among the pilgrims. He sent me with this delegation to Moscow with the icon of Kazan that had been saved during the revolution, ended up in America, came back and was given to the Pope John Paul II. He had it in his private chapel. He was very fond of this. He hoped that he would be invited to Russia, the only country that did not invite him. And we came with the icon to the Kremlin, and to me it was a historic day. We handed over this to the Patriarch Alexis II, and I went up the steps to be presented to Alexis, to the Patriarch. And because I know a little about Russian traditions, I had a bag of salt in my hand that the Sindaco of Ancona had given me a week earlier, Sali dei Papi, because apparently they sell salt to the Vatican. It was very symbolic to join the Catholic religion, the Orthodox religion, and this miraculous image. And Alexis II, like many Russians, sometimes think that smiling is a weakness, but he's very solid face burst into a big smile, and as I came down from there, the papal nuncio, the Pope's ambassador, said, "Madame, you have become the Patriarch's best Catholic friend." And I was invited to a long 4-hour lunch sitting opposite the Patriarch. It was historic. And my question to the Deputy Mayor of Kazan is, did the icon end up in Kazan where it should have had its home? Was it given back to you? Because...
Спасибо за вопрос. Я не готов сразу ответить, передали ли список, но еще раз хотел бы сакцентировать внимание, что...
Thank you. Well, the icon of Kazan, at this point in time, well, the president of Tatarstan has adopted a project for the reconstruction of the Orthodox Church cathedral, and many pilgrims that come to Kazan state that they want to return to Kazan on a yearly basis to pay tribute to this icon. The infrastructure is being created this winter time again, including also the tourist infrastructures, and this will enable all pilgrims to cooperate and to see also an increase in our revenues thanks to our icon. And all coming through Kazan will get to know the incredible history of this icon. I'm afraid I have to close this 7th session. There's one additional session, so my name is Flavio Tabanelli of the Executive Intelligence Review. I have a question for President Emiliano, the President of the region of Puglia. Over 150 years, Petit and Cavour, 2 ministers, before the Suez Canal got open, were referring to the development of a major rail network to support ports. I would like to know now, with the opening of the second canal that has been referred to as a gift to humanity by Al-Sisi, I would like to know whether in Apulia reference has always has ever been mentioned to strengthen certain ports in the south of Italy, like Bari, for example, Taranto, to welcome the ships coming from Asia, thus reducing their journeys. Thank you. Thank you for asking this question, because I probably have forgotten something. And even the previous speaker, in a way, urged me to add some additional information. Well, Apulia is equipped with 4 airports, as I was saying earlier on, and can boast quite a remarkable network of ports on both seas, the Ionian and the Adriatic. Now, for the sake of in the interest of time, I'd like to focus just on one port, Taranto. Well, hundreds of millions of euro are being invested there, and as of last year, we started the public works that had been thought of by the Prodi government in 87. The port of Taranto is now perfectly competitive with European ports. It enjoys connection with the rail networks. There's an important area. It is an important port for the country and for our regional cause. The steelworks in Taranto, Ilva, is reducing its operation, and additional areas can be devoted also to the port. So the port of Taranto can grow even bigger thanks to the reduction in size of the steelworks neighboring the port. As I was saying earlier on, Apulia is carrying out public works fully independent from criminal action. Obviously, the ILVA, the steelworks, shouldn't use for their exclusive use the port, because these two companies, in a way, ILVA and another one, in a way, stopped other companies from using the port. A new intermodal port has been just inaugurated, and this is one of the only port with a very important airport nearby, the Gritalia, with a very and that can enjoy also that would allow to send also the produce from Apulia abroad, so as to basically build an interconnection between the airplane companies, the airports, and the food industry, because part of the airplanes could be devoted again to the transport of food produce. I can't wait, therefore, to establish some connection also with the gentleman that took the floor earlier on, to see whether we could take advantage of the European structural funds, which in Europe, in Apulia, as is true in Sicily, are quite abundant, more than in the rest of the country. So we're closing the session pretty much on time. As you've noticed, not only do we devote our attention to business, which is indeed the core business of the forum, but we also devoted a lot of attention to the development of relations in quite a difficult context, because basically we focused on the shared values of these people's culture, the mutual curiosity to get to know one another, and to establish trade relations. Thank you very much. So now the 8th session is about to begin. Thank you.